Hi all, let's talk about the short story The Ultimate Safari by Nadine Gordimer today. So she is a renowned South African writer and political activist. She fought against the apartheid government of South Africa, and she was a part of the African National Congress. The Ultimate Safari was published in 1989, and it tells the story of a family who was leaving from their homeland, Mozambique, to a refugee camp, to a safer place when the civil war breaks out. So the story portrays the struggles that this family has to go through in order to, and the losses that they had to face as they leaves everything back and go to the refugee camp. So they had to pass a park called the Kruger Park on the way. So the things that they had to go through while passing this park has been detailedly narrated in this short story. And the story is told from the perspective of a 9-year-old girl. She and her elder brother and the younger brother, who's an infant. This girl is a 9-year-old girl, and these two brothers are also very young. One is an infant, actually. And one day their mother goes to shop for some cooking oil, and she goes missing. She never came. And she also mentions that their father, who used to fight against the bandits, she also left one day and never came back. So their father had already been missing, and that particular day, their mother, who went for shopping, also went missing. And their grandparents, their grandmother and grandfather, came and took care of the kids, and they sell so many things. They had, like, the grandmother sells their her shoes, her church clothes, everything to acquire things that will be helpful for the journey. So since their place is not safe anymore, they plans to travel to a refugee camp where they'll be safe, and they were led by a man. So the girl narrates the incidents, the things that happens while they go from their place to this refugee camp throughout the story. So this Kruger Park is a place where the white tourists comes to watch animals. So they will camp there too. So they had to hide from these tourists and the military forces, the police, the wardens, and all, to safely pass through the park. Otherwise, if they are caught, they'll be sent back to their own places, and it's not safe anymore to go back. So they had to hide from all of them to pass through the Kruger Park. There was a thick wired fence around the park. So they had to suffer a lot, and it took them so many days to reach the refugee camp. So the girl, uh, through the girl's perspective, Nadine Gordimer narrates the family's suffering and survival. As they travel, they were forced to live like animals. They had to eat whatever left by animals. So this girl at one point even says that it's hard to live like animals because they, she even feels jealous of a lion who was lying on the grass. She wanted to lie like that, but they have no time to take rest. They were on the journey. So, and during nights, in the beginning, actually, when they enters the Kruger Park, they see a herd of elephants coming their way. At first, this girl is terrified, but then he, with a childish curiosity, looks at this herd of elephants, and she enjoys their actions and all. So that's their first encounter with animals. Then from there, they see these lions, hyenas, and all, vultures, all of that sort of animals during their way. So they, at nights when they sleep, they could hear the panting of lions, and they will lie down. They'll all roll up together, and they'll fight to lie in the middle because those who are at the edge won't be that safe. So this girl even thinks that she wants the lion to take somebody from the edge so that she and her family will be safe. So that is the situation in which they were living, in extreme fear. And once they eat these some wild foods, and they all got diarrhea, and it made them so sick. And her grandfather, he was too weak that he had to be carried by her elder brother and the man who led them while they crossed these small rivers and all. And even on their way, they had to leave everything that they had taken with them because they were not able to hold onto these baskets because they were so weak. Even she feels that her younger brother, whom she carried on in her hands, he, even when he gets weak, she also gets weak. And she says that when the boy, her younger brother feels heavy, even though he's getting thin, that means that she was also getting thin. She was also getting weak. So they had no food, and she says that these vultures used to circle around them, and these vultures, he calls them the ugly birds. That she says that they will eat whatever meat left in the dead animals' bodies, so that they won't get even the bones. So that's how she portrays these animals. And the girl also narrates an event when they could get the smell of this meat getting cooked by a white family who was camped somewhere in the park. And but they cannot go and ask for meat even to the workers there, because these workers will not won't even notice them. They'll also ignore them, because if they give them something and if they are caught, they will lose their job. So even the black workers won't even notice them. So that was their situation. They were under constant danger, and they lived literally like animals through their whole journey. And finally, They during their path they reaches a place where there were tall grass surrounded, and they call these grasses as elephant grasses, and they she loses her grandfather there. He just goes missing. They searched for him a lot but couldn't find him. They finally decides to leave him behind and move forward, because it's not safe to remain there, because the kids were all getting weak. So they had to reach the refugee camp as soon as possible and have something. So they moves forward without any idea about their grandfather. And finally they reaches the camp. It was a huge tent. It was as wide as a school or a church, and so many families lived inside this tent. They had tied these sacks, and they had arranged boxes to mark their own spaces, and they lived there inside the uh, tent together. And she gets to know from the nurse that this there were more than 200 adults and so many children living in the camp, and most of the babies there were born during their journey from this their place to the refugee camp. So this journey has taken a long maybe months for them to reach this refugee camp. And when as soon as they reach the refugee camp, her younger brother, he was not even speaking, and this girl and her brother were too weak that they couldn't even stand up. They were given this special mix to drink, and they regains their energy, and the villagers lets them join their schools. And the grandmother, she works, even though it was illegal, she works hard in the building sites of these villagers, and she earns money and provides this these grandkids. She wants them to get educated and get a good job and earn money. She even buys a set of, even though she has got no shoes, she buys shoes for these little kids, and she sends them to school, and this girl studies well. So this all this happens after 2 years and 1 month after they have reached the camp. So now they are living like this. They had made the tent their home, their little space their home, and they have been living like this after 2 years and a month since they have reached the refugee camp. So that's how the story goes. And these they often, and at times they'll get these clothes and food donated by some people. And the story ends where the some white people coming and taking the interview of the grandmother. This white lady comes into their space inside the tent and asks questions to the grandmother, and she responds to them, since when are you living in this tent? And she answers that it's been 2 years and a month. And the lady asks, are you willing to go back? But the grandmother says that no, because there is nothing back there, and there is no home for us to go back. But the little girl, she thinks that she wants to go back. She believes that their mother will be waiting back in their home, and on their way they could also find their grandfather whom they lost on the way. So this is how the girl thinks. So she has got this hope to live in a family, or to go back to a family that she had lost way back. So but the grandmother knows the reality, that there is nothing left. It's only them. So that's where the story ends. So this is the whole story. This is a short summary of the story. So the story begins in 1988, and when the girl was 9 years old, and it ends when the girl is 11 years old. So the journey, the hardships, and their life after 2 years and a month after reaching the refugee camp is narrated in the story through the perspective of a young girl. Thank you.